Two devastating opening losses mean both Czechia and South Africa are stepping onto the pitch today facing immediate elimination. A draw does neither of these teams any favors. They both have to chase 3 points, which turns this group stage matchup into a de facto knockout game. The Czech team is built around a rigid tactical structure and sheer physical dominance. Contrast that with South Africa, who arrive at this match severely depleted after 2 red cards dismantled their roster in their opening game. This chart plots both teams based on their Game 1 data, measuring defensive stability on one axis against attacking efficacy on the other. Czechia lands right here. They have a reliable structural foundation, but they failed to generate sustained offensive output in their opener. South Africa sits in the exact same quadrant, but those 2 suspensions act as a severe penalty to their baseline stability. Factoring in those absences, Opta's supercomputer currently gives Czechia nearly a 55% chance to win. The question you have to answer is whether a depleted underdog can invent a tactical workaround, or if pure physical superiority makes this match a statistical certainty. Evaluating this matchup requires looking past the hope of an underdog story and strictly measuring who actually has the personnel available to execute their game plan. Looking closely at South Africa's defensive setup, the fallout from that 2-0 loss to Mexico creates immediate problems. Coach Hugo Bruce has to build a backline without 2 of his primary defenders. This diagram illustrates the holes in the core center back and fullback roles. This deficit forces an untested defensive line. To protect these vulnerable spots, Bruce must deploy a highly conservative formation that limits their ability to push forward. That defensive retreat puts immense pressure on the center of the pitch, where one specific matchup will dictate the flow of the game. South Africa's Teboho Mokoena has to navigate around the massive frame of Czech midfielder Tomas Souček. That creates a severe physical mismatch. Every time South Africa tries to transition the ball, Mokoena will be forced to operate outside his preferred passing lanes. To compensate, he will have to overcommit on tackles. That risks drawing another card and entirely remove South Africa's primary playmaker from the offense. By patching the holes in their defense, South Africa effectively neuters their own transition game, isolating their forwards in their own half. This setup plays directly into the primary way Czechia wants to attack. They rely heavily on aerial balls and set-piece mechanics to generate scoring chances. This chart compares average heights. There is a glaring physical disparity. Because of this gap, Czechia has a very high probability of winning initial contact on dead ball deliveries. South Africa's only counter is to pack the penalty area, leaving wide space open on the flanks. That wide space is exactly where players like Adam Hlozek operate best, allowing them to cycle the ball right back into the danger zone. South Africa does have one viable option to bypass this physical wall. They will need to rely almost entirely on their goalkeeper, Ronwen Williams, to deliver deep, highly accurate passes over the top of the Czech midfield. The problem is the margin for error. A single misplaced long ball against Czechia's pressing structure will immediately result in a high-danger transition going the other way. Czechia doesn't need a complicated tactical masterclass. Their baseline size and strength map directly onto the specific flaws forced upon South Africa's roster. Let's run these variables through a final framework to see if South Africa actually has a mathematical path to victory. This decision tree maps the match outcomes based entirely on how South Africa sets up their defense. If they decide to sit deep, they invite Czechia's set-piece dominance, which results in a high probability win for the Europeans. If they take a risk and press high, it gives Patrick Schick space inside the box, which again leads to a highly probable Czech victory. For the tactical purists watching, pay attention to how Czechia plays the half spaces. They will likely use wide possession purely to draw corner kicks, treating those set pieces as their primary win condition. If you are setting a fantasy lineup or looking at the betting markets, Schick and Ladislav Krejci are premium investments based on this expected script of sustained aerial attacks. That 55% win probability from the Opta supercomputer is grounded in clear structural logic, not just statistical noise. The World Cup always provides massive emotional narratives, and South Africa certainly has the passion of an underdog with their backs against the wall. But the data points us to a clear result. We expect a 2-1 victory for Czechia. While hoping for a miracle makes for great television, structural certainty is a much safer bet.